On January 13, 2024, Russia launched another massive missile attack on the territory of Ukraine. According to preliminary data, 6 Mig-31K Fighter Interceptors, 11 Tu-95MS strategic bombers, 7 Tu-22M3 bombers, 9 Su-35 fighter jets, and 8 Su-34 fighter bombers took part in this missile attack. In total, more than 40 missiles of various types were fired at military facilities located on the territory of Ukraine, ranging from the hypersonic missile Kinzhal to the cruise missile Kh-101. Moreover, dozens of the latest jet-powered Uranium-3 kamikaze drones were also used during this missile attack. In this regard, on the evening of January 13, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation held a meeting on the results of this missile attack and the general situation at the front. During this meeting, the Russian military department officially announced that all set military targets had been successfully destroyed. This time, the main missile strikes were carried out on military installations in western Ukraine and the Kyiv region. A series of powerful explosions were reported in the city of Rivne, in the northwest of Ukraine. Later, it became known that in the north of this city, an automotive tractor plant was destroyed, which produced 155, 152, and 125 mm shells for the self-propelled gun, Bogdan. Moreover, in the western part of this city, a fertilizer plant was also destroyed, where gunpowder for the Ukrainian army was produced in secrecy. Kyiv was also subjected to a missile attack. It is worth noting that during this missile attack, all employees of the American embassy in Kyiv, including U.S. Ambassador Bridget Brink, were forced to hide in a bunker. The Americans came out of the underground bunker only in the early morning of January 14. Later, Bridget Brink admitted that the Russians attacked Kyiv again with the help of Kinzhal hypersonic missiles. However, the strange behavior of the U.S. ambassador and employees of the American embassy in Kyiv raised a lot of questions. Why were the Americans suddenly afraid that one of the Russian missiles could destroy the building of the U.S. embassy? Why did the White House urgently order Bridget Brink and other embassy staff to immediately hide in an underground bunker? The fact is that Russian military intelligence has managed to identify numerous NATO underground warehouses in the vicinity of Kyiv. It was these NATO warehouses that were destroyed on January 13, with the help of Kinzhal hypersonic missiles. Moreover, in Kyiv itself, missile strikes were also carried out on numerous structures of the North Atlantic Alliance, which fought against Russia under the guise of foreign diplomatic missions. The Americans realized that the Russians were able to determine the exact location of NATO facilities in Kyiv and its surroundings. That is why the Americans were terrified that a missile strike would also be launched at the U.S. Embassy, since this building is in fact the main decision-making center in Ukraine. This is the reason behind the immediate evacuation of all employees of the American diplomatic mission in Kyiv. Meanwhile, a well-known military expert, writer, and leading British analyst on the Russian military, Kinzhal, admired the professional actions of Russian military intelligence. According to him, it was the professional actions of Russian military intelligence that allowed Russian missiles to inflict devastating damage to Ukraine's military infrastructure in recent days. The expert is sure that the Russians are well aware of all the internal processes between NATO and the Ukrainian General Staff. Moscow knows perfectly well how many missiles and air defense systems are at the disposal of the armed forces of Ukraine, and with enviable regularity reveals the exact location of NATO facilities on the territory of such a huge country. Moreover, the expert also acknowledged that the percentage of interception of Ukrainian ground and air defenses has fallen significantly, due not only to the invulnerability of many Russian missiles, but also to the operation of A-50U AWACS planes. The fact that Russia will continue to launch massive missile strikes on Ukraine is beyond anyone's doubt. Moscow will not rest until all military factories and facilities in Ukraine disappear, including the remaining Western weapons systems. And judging by how rapidly events are developing, Moscow will be able to achieve its goal already in 2024.